Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 84th episode of our first run through the House of Light expansion of, for Book of Hours, playing as the Archaeologist. First run on YouTube. So, I think I kind of already covered all of this at the end of the previous episode, but our main focus for the rest of today is going to be to get this last little bit of Stone Stories leveled up. That's going to happen after we get the Savage Hymn when we're done with Drums and Dances. We'll have a couple of remaining tasks, which are mostly centered around whether or not I use the Thunderskins Paean for anything. Now, just to be clear in terms of all of my options, I could just add this to the list of Stone Stories, but that would be a real shame to use it for this purpose. At the very least, what I want to do is put this in the in the sleep spot and use it for the next day. What I'll more likely do is either remove a curse or try to make the Swaddled Thunder out of this. But we don't need to really rush on that right now. I can make a decision once we start running out of time. And then I said that the metal ideally would be used to catalog another book. The health is already spoken for with Stone Stories, which sort of leaves Trist as the big open question mark. Oop. I'm not crazy about it, but I think we're probably just going to use the shop to earn a little more money. Mind you, that could also free up the Trist to do other things. I'll have to make that choice reasonably soon, though, because it takes 90 seconds to go to Crowcross Sands. Only a minute to make the ink, though. Alright. We didn't use anything to generate that hindsight, so we're just overwriting what Denzel already gave me. And of course all of this is academic in a second because we will have our Savage Hymn. Harsh on the tongue. Savage Hymn, a music that urges valor and violence. Okay, so we take the Stone Stories, add all of these elements, add our health, add the lesson. At last I am something of an authority in this. So I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be using the metal to catalog another book. So the reason I'm using the metal is just it doesn't seem to be susceptible to curses, or other afflictions. So that's kind of become my go-to for cataloging, although it definitely slows it down quite a bit. Not that time is a really pressing matter for me. Alright, the skill is now level 6. Its power aspects have also increased. So I think we need to make some decisions about what I want to do here. So it's just a pure hypothetical. If we take the core, the storm, I don't think we have any other heart to work with, but... Okay, so we can already make the Swaddled Thunder. I am more inclined to do this than... Yes. So I'm more inclined to do this because in the end, this can be seen as packaging the Thunderskins Paean into another turn. Whereas using it on the books here, I don't think the Lion in the Glass and In the Mountains is upon the plain. There may not be a path where none has passed. Those aren't really things that I'm not going to read them right away. So, what has the sea seeded today? Not sure about this choice. I usually do wind up... I think I'm going to catalog with the shaft. It's a risk, but like a reasonable one, so... This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's nocturnal period after the turn of the century. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. We have The Snare of the Tree, Collected Proverbs of Aunt Mopsy. So this is a good one because of the Applebright Euphonies. I don't even know if we have this in the collection yet. Doesn't look like it. Actually, the better one for me to do would be to look at something with Sky. Yeah, so Clockworks, Glass Blowing, Vessel Crafting, Uranoscopy, Watchman's Paradoxes, Sights and Sensations, Purifications and Exaltation, Sacra Lamea, Furs and Feathers, Sky Stories, Sacra Solus Invicti, Strings and Songs. I'm not seeing any Applebright. So that's pretty much the next thing I'm going to read. We may want to read more than one thing, but... So I'm still talking with Denzel for the simple reason that I do have the option of taking something overnight. I can take the intuition if I want, but it's nice just to have the options. The funny thing too is I could also restore an element of the soul and try and use that to... Ooh, this is an interesting one. I could also just try and turn it into... sorry, I could try and turn it into something with the Revelation and Sunny. Anyway, this is a nice one because it gives me Disciplines of the Scar, as well as something I was hoping to do in good time. So this is also a high priority one for us to read tomorrow. Now I have an idea of this book's nature and its contents. The Open Head, Ilse Bischoff's hallucinatory quasi-documentary, notionally about the Greco-Turkish War of the previous decade. So I have at least 2 books that I'm going to read. Oh, you know what? We might lose my core overnight. I'd say it's certain. So I have 2 definite texts that I'll be reading. And because I'm going to be leveling up Disciplines of the Scar, I will take the Foresight overnight. I was inclined to do the Intuition, but something with Lantern is the most helpful to me right now. Okay, Whispering Sand, White Silver Sand, in which the voice of the waves lingers. The good news is we're also going to need some edge soon, so... Excuse me. Alright, so at the start of tomorrow, going straight into the projector. This will be a little more difficult than it seems, just because trying to cram in... so, like, you'd say, okay, Edicts Martial clearly solves my, my edge problem. The challenge is that I actually need something with edge that that fits the projector slot, so we may not be able to do this right away. However, the fact it's a Hyksos text gives me a bit of an advantage. So let's just see what we're up against, because this is a pretty high priority text to read. Okay, so under eligible skills, not looking good. Disciplines of the Hammer is the best I've got. So we need another 2 edge. Shucks. Okay, well, it's inconvenient, but we can take the Arab. We can get a contradiction. think we've done all of these, actually, so I'll just do the Exorcist Field manual again from the start and move on. I need to think as to whether or not I want to bring someone else in for memory. Well, I'm getting 2 different skills, so probably not a bad idea to bring Denzel in for the consultation. And we'll use the medal for one last cataloging. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's nocturnal period after the turn of the century. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Alright, now, I probably should have thought this through a little bit better. I do need to find a desk which will take Grail. I don't think it's this one, but Nona's desk should. Yeah. Actually, it also occurred to me... Oh no, Great Signs and Great Scars. Right. In fact... I can get a little sneaky with it. Grail Birth, I can master this mystery. Enough Grail to match Mystery Grail. Sleep thou, O Tempest, for now bow thy head. A swaddled thunder, a storm swathed in subtle threads, ready to be released with a few judicious snips. 6 heart, 4 sky, thing, tool, device, fabric, and fiber. I do like the description of the device. A machine that will only operate once. If it's an infernal device, that means it will explode, so be careful. So I think this would be a good candidate for just taking a glass of water and restoring immediately. In fact, let's take the core and drop the water. And Oriflammes. Oriflammes established 1776. Sense Sign Sciences. Dear librarian, we would like to offer you this opportunity to purchase the Flayed Tantra. This Tantra is recorded as being spoken by an enigmatic individual identified as Peel, with many of the qualities of the mythological Naga. The Flayed Tantra played a notable part in Alexander Sparrow's paranoid pamphleteering. Now, I believe this gives me Magaphine Mysteries, and I don't think I have that yet. And if memory serves, I think Magaphine Mysteries actually helps me out with a couple of the challenges I've been running into. So that's a pretty high priority purchase, and it's not that expensive. Oriflammes thanks you for your custom. Denzel rarely works for free, but he won't take payment for helping a friend. Speak to Denzel, he might even reply. Okay, pour it out. Once we get the foresight back, we'll recover the core. I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. So the sunny day is also helpful for leveling up disciplines of the scar when it comes to it. Okay. A quick nap in a warm bed with something comforting to drink while the winds chase the clouds and the clouds chase the sun. And here we have the Locksmith's Dream Trespasses, the 3rd volume of Teresa Galmier's examination of the parallels in the mystic dreams of artisans. Did I put... So this is a tricky one in the sense that I haven't figured out where Edict's Liminal sits in the list of things that I want. At least I don't think I have. Let me just take a quick minute here. No, actually I should probably be a little more aggressive with Edict's Liminal than I should be, because I believe that's a Nyctodrome. Yeah, well, at the... Yeah, no. So, if it goes to Skolakosophy, I can do at least the 1. And if it goes to Nyctodrome, Nyctodrome doesn't start till 5, so... let's say we start with that. I'll actually run that out right away if I can. So I need 4 more. Blockworks and Clockworks will probably, or glass blowing, yeah. Preliminal meters, exactly what I needed. So I'm a match for this book. So that should bring me to 4. Now I'm curious if I have any other Edicts Liminal books that I was ignoring. Yeah, deaths and their evasions, but that's because that's a really high level text. Okay, so it's not as bad as I thought. Still, it's nice to get a few of these knocked off the list. And of course, there's always the shame when it's something like Edicts Liminal, because I've already got such a high amount put into Great Signs and Great Scars. But overall, like, I'm happy that we're starting to work down the pile of books while still sort of retaining that structure that I wanted in terms of the lessons that I was getting. The one thing that's going to be a little trickier to work with is I don't have a strict plan in terms of what I'm leveling up and when, and some of these books are going to be done later on in the day. So I may have a couple of lessons which hang out longer than intended. What I mean by that is they'll be... I'll have to wait overnight for a couple of these things, but it's not a race. Like in this case here, I'm really just I'm trying to queue up as many of these things as I can to take advantage of opportunities as they emerge. And I should also be considering, given that I'm putting some more points into Stone Stories and similar scaly memories, I may want to think a bit about whether or not I hire one of the miners. Just so that I can take advantage of some of the scale rooms. An Exorcist Field Manual, a practical guide to troublesome dead, grounded in theory but with a clear focus on their disposal by the redoubtable Detective Austerity Wheellock of the Suppression Bureau. The dead usually avoid light as the most immediate manifestation of eternity, which has no place for death. However, those dead uplifted by gold, that is to say touched by an actinic theoplasma, happily bought about in daylight and are perhaps strongest at noon. If you are dead but uplifted by green, that's the Ring-Use blessing. The crown growth offers a similar but nastier benefit. This is how burgeoning risen come about, but there are different degrees of sentience and freedom depending on which growths are involved. The consciousness of one uplifted by green is always greatly altered, though. They never really seem like the same person. They may have dregs of their original souls, but these are often replaced by something else. The upshot, invariably, is that they need to be set firmly on fire. Alright, so that gives me the 2 edge that I needed. I think I'll put metal in here instead, and that's partly a recognition of the fact... Oh, right, it doesn't let me put that in there. Okay. Partly a recognition in the fact that Applebright Euphonies is a Grail and Sky ability. I really didn't think this through, did I? Okay, well, there's the old one. No, of course. You know what? This is one I'm willing to take the chance on. So what I'm expecting here is we'll probably get something like an element of the soul, and we'll just be able to employ one of the metal or the Arab. Sorry to keep repeating that sound, but I believe this gives a revelation, so that will be helpful for leveling up Disciplines of the Scar to a point where I probably don't need to think that much about any more points into it. A little water splashes on the stones of the well to nourish the mosses there. So I gotta decide whether or not I'd like to use the something funny is going on with the placement. He does a lot with silence, this man. So yeah, if I'm leveling up Disciplines of the Scar, what I'd effectively be working with here is I'd have, let's say, the Sunny Day to get it to level 2, and then if I get a second memory, then I've got the Foresight and the Revelation from the film itself to get me to that next level. I do feel I'm underutilizing my Elements of the Soul right now, but that's partly just because I have a few of these things. Basically, just a few of these are in... they're in a little bit of a holding pattern while I work out what the best... the best approach to the memories are. Alright, Snare of the Tree, collected proverbs of Aunt Mopsy. Once in the wood we call a visit, twice in the wood we call a journey, thrice we call coming home. Every timber has its knots, the straight and the crooked both. Every weave is more absence than thread. You can't keep nowhere out any more than you can keep somewhere in. When the cuckoo learns the nightingale's song, our sleep is sweeter than honey. So, confounding parable and 2 Applebright euphonies. So that's useful along a couple of dimensions. Almost certainly going to need some more shelf space for the confounding parables before long. So first of all, I'm going to make sure, yes, we did not have this before, so use this lesson to acquire a new skill. I'll just keep regenerating the, not quite what I had intended. Hang on. Oh, right, because I got it back. So fixing and mending. There's not much work on offer in Brandcrude, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. Oops. Excuse me. Yeah, so so the weather doesn't help me, but with the extra effort soul, we're fine. Okay. So I'll just read the description again. The Open Head, Ilse Bischoff's hallucinatory quasi-documentary, notionally about the Greco-Turkish War of the previous decade. A hammer-armed Turk and a sword-armed Greek pursue each other through the Pindus, setting traps for each other, robbing peasants, chalking insulting graffiti on walls. The tone is notionally anti-war, but any scholar of the invisible arts would recognize the edge-hour subtext and the Hyksos messages in the graffiti. The sword wielder methodically fills a church with candles, lights each one, strips again to the waist to reveal his terrible scars. His chest somehow swings open like a cupboard door to reveal a blood-drenched book, and the film ends. So this is a pretty useful little revelation. I actually don't 100% remember this secret, but we'll say Disciplines of the Scar and Revelation. Some truths come to us from outside or above. So the key on this one here is the sword wielder methodically fills a church with candles, lights each one, strips again to the waist to reveal his terrible scars. His chest somehow swings open like a cupboard door to reveal a blood-drenched book, and the film ends. So it seems like a fairly decent description here. I'll give that in just a moment. Another leaf on the Tree of Wisdoms. I also seem to remember, though, when I tried this one with Disciplines of the Scar, it didn't work. But I won't get ahead of myself on that. Let's do the Arab for Applebright. Kind of have to use the Confounding Parable because the Sunny was going to help me with the Disciplines of the Scar. Then again, I don't need to level this up right away. I could level up the Disciplines of the Scar, so let's do that instead. There's always more to learn. Okay, and The Locksmith's Dream Trespasses, the third volume of Teresa Galmier's examination of parallels in the mystic dreams of artisans. In this volume, notoriously, Galmier's prose begins to disintegrate, and it's not clear which dreams are in fact her own. The woman in the sand-colored robe has told me, the stairways of the mansus go ever up, death is down. The mother of ants guards both directions with each of her heads, and so the passage must always be through a wound. I think the white door might be a wound. That's one reason the dead sometimes pass it. I think I have the other half of the secret now, and I hope my reader can put both halves together. So another impulse book. And that gets us the Edict's Liminal, just one. Alright, I was not expecting impulse to be the first one to need reshelving, but there you go. So Edict's Liminal is going to need 3 memories, and well, we've got more than I thought. I could give up the Curious Hunch or the Occult Scrap for it, but both are a little hard to come by. So I'm going to hang on to what I've got right now. But I think we've finished all of our reading exercises, so now's the time for me to start thinking about how I'm leveling all this stuff up. So let's say that the Shaft is set aside to level up Edict's Liminal, the Faust for Disciplines of the Scar, and the Arab for Applebright Euphonies. I have a little bit of wriggle room for some of these others, but I'm going to keep with that for now. So Applebright Euphonies is going to need a Grail and Sky. So actually I can just say Confounding Parable and Sunny Day go to Applebright Euphonies right now. Disciplines of the Scar needs either Lantern or Edge. And I don't feel too bad about saying, well, we just use the old wound and we're good to go. So in practice, all we really need to do is generate another Moth or Knock, which Denzel may just make on his own. But because I have so many things that I don't really have any, there's just not there isn't like a demand for. I don't have a lot of demands on my Elements of the Soul right now. I think we'll just get a pattern and say we're ready to go for the next levels. At this point, it's really just a question of catching up with the consider verb, which means I should be able to take 1 Trist to Crowcross. Oh, sorry. You know what? I do need it for the Disciplines of the Scar, but there was the one thing I was going to do, which was generate the edge that I needed through renouncing. So we'll do that still. That keeps me from having to use the old wound. So I can still do some beachcombing. We may use the other 2 Trist for ink generation. And it's been a while since we've gone to the moor, so let's do one of those as well. The gorse is bright on the land's nape. I'm trying to remember if the bees are active. Sure, honey or beeswax if I'm careful. He does a lot with silence, this man. When something is given to the sea, it rarely returns, although of course I did. So we still have some flexibility with the core. We can use that at Crowcross Sands or the moor. We could also use it. In fact, maybe now would not be a bad time for me to make a go at trying to overcome the 5th Eye Curse. Alright, the skill's now level 2. Its power aspects have also increased, so I'm going to start by leveling up Disciplines of the Scar one more time. Partly because, Edict's Liminal technically has the impulse, but Disciplines of the Scar is the one that I can currently do right now that actually has something that Denzel not just can replace, but is actually more likely to replace than some of the others. So I'm no expert, but I'm no dabbler either. Okay, Oriflams thanks you for your custom. We'll want to read the Flayed Tantra as soon as we can, but I don't think I can complete it in time. So that'll definitely be the first one that I read in the morning. And while we do have some work to do, I think this is not a bad place to finish the day's work, in terms of the episode, I mean. So right now I just have a bunch of stuff in the queue to finish off. So in a little less than 30 seconds, we'll use the Arab to level up Applebright Euphonies. By then we should finish getting the pattern, at which point we will level up Edict's Liminal. And I will... I did kind of want to try and make a go for the Secret of the House, but I'm going to have to save that for the next episode, especially because, again, I can never remember if that is exactly... I think it is, but I remember there was another detail that I'd missed or I'd gotten wrong. So anyways, we'll see whether or not I correctly interpret the hint. Oh, and fixing and mending, as they used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.